Okay, I'm gonna read a poem from the issue called Longleaf Pines Autumn. October, but the air still heavy. Hot at dawn when I walk the trail through a stand of longleaf pines dry from drought. The woods, once dense, now thinned enough to see the road where fellers cleared the dead trees, chopped their crowns, then leveled the trunks down to the stumps. The remnant pines stand statue still, and through their limbs the sky softens to blue before an amber sun edges above the horizon. I watch a car move down the road. Further down the trail, the stand remains thick with pines, their trunks and branches dense enough to hide the road. Despite the autumn heat, the daylight hours shorten, so they shed their chestnut spikes. Still, deep green needles fan like feathers, and their fresh citrus scent ribbons through the air. From their branches, birdsong begins. The starlings recite their collection of notes, but past the pines an engine hums. I hear a car move down the road. And I have another one too called Elegy for a Pine Tree. This poem actually appeared in Willow's Wept Review. And this sort of it came out of the same batch of poems that I wrote a couple of years ago. We had a drought in my state, Mississippi, where I live, and a lot of trees were killed. And this kind of came out of the same batch with that poem, the other poem. So, okay, Elegy for a Pine Tree. The pine stressed by drought died last summer. Beetles attacked, bored holes through the bark. Here in chilly air, its branches shed their copper needles. Pointy pom-poms drop from scaly limbs. No spearmint spikes flicker through the winter, but pitch tubes dot the trunk. Sticky clusters of popcorn sap the tree expelled, an attempt to block the beetles from the inner bark. Insects cased in glassy shells, they colonized the heart, wove ribbons under the husk. To store their larvae, bar nutrient flow from the needles to the core. They recruited a fungus to stain the bark blue and dehydrate the tree. During last summer's heat, the hottest recorded, the beetles spread to nearby pines to infest the stand. They toppled a nation. You.
Okay. I think I'm going to read one of the poems in the journal and then one that's not. That's a in progress piece. So that's my plan that I came up with like 30 seconds ago. This poem's called My First Best Friend. That July, like the scouts we weren't, you mapped every inch of the scraggy lot behind the tire swing, its hilltops of thorns, charms of hornets, random bamboo, all between our two houses of honey and comb. You tricked my younger brother into eating poison ivy. I saw you. When his face ballooned like a sail, we both stayed silent as winter bees, an ambient alliance. I gorged myself on honeysuckle and raspberries tart as tits while you watched, and together we broke milkweed stalks, mashing them up just to see the milk sap, their milk guts. I thought you'd fess up eventually, or that I would, but instead you stopped calling. Even as adults, we don't speak of that time as if it were a sinkhole hidden by spoiled leaves. You are the same now, sipping from a salt-rimmed glass, like you don't really need it. You never needed me or the honeysuckle. Okay. And poem I want to read. Oh, I can't see all your hearts while I'm like jostling between poems. This one is called I Trust This Message Finds You Well. And it's a very new poem, so I thought I would take a risk and share it. There's Scotch Gaelic in the poem that I do not know how to pronounce, so if anybody does, I will put it in the chat and you can like tell me phonetically or something. But I'm just going to read the English. I trust this message finds you well. Wasn't it just so easy to slide from one letter to another on a Ouija board, like crossing a one-way street or opening a greased door? On the floor of a screened-in porch, candles lit and fingers light, we placed our palms over the planchette, knuckles nudging towards a yes, no, maybe. We didn't know anyone dead, so we asked only about ourselves, whether our crushes liked us back. One Halloween, I scroll through memories, grateful for this look back, the year my daughter was a raisin box and my son a tiger roaring on all fours, and in the comments find messages from the deceased. One, would you care to dance? I never answered. Another, tell me about it. E made a whole ass terrarium, moss clumps, spines of succulent, open to the elements, living things tightly held by a girl who in a few years would lose her mother. I want the messages to mean something. Happy visitations. I miss you. How's the family? I want them to seek being seen. But they're empty vessels, minor coincidences. Or maybe they're more like children returning from banishment, some private shame still fresh as a whip, clinging to sticky skin, while I sit, phone in one hand, coffee in another, tapping out messages to the living. Thanks.
I'm going to start with my poem from, let's see, from the issue called 13 Ways of Looking at My Rapist after Wallace Stevens. And I have to say, when I wrote this, I never thought Wallace Stevens would be the way I'd find my way into this poem, but amazingly it was. 13 Ways of Looking at My Rapist. 1, he finds me in the bottom of a glass. 2, he names his daughter Karan. She ferries me, blind and limp, across the Acheron into his waiting arms. 3, he and the night wear the same face. 4, is he the reason I was afraid of heights, his body a ledge from which I cannot leap? All the painted ladies line up, their eyes vacant as windows. 5, the ghost of my vomit haunts his bathroom. 6, it is August, but his mouth swallows the sun, an eclipse of perfidy. 7, father and daughter, two sides of one net. 8, his breath a wind assaulting the ficus trees. They surrender, spill green leaves onto gray sidewalk, pages ripped from my blank book. 9, his toxic waste poisons my love canal. Do not enter his 3-year legacy. 10, water cannot flush him from my flesh. His fingers erupt from every crevasse of cellulite cratering my thighs until I am a sea anemone waving from the bottom of the bay. 11, he is the secret I never tell, the poem I never write. 12, the seagulls shriek and jostle in Ghirardelli Square, chocolate lavas and royals sickened by his glance. 13, he is a crow-shaped shadow staining the brick path. Black feathers flutter from my lips. Thank you. If I have a little more time, I'd love to share another one. This is called a Winning Kiss. I won a fraternity kissing contest in college. I still have the photo. Chubby dumpling me, squeezed into too tight jeans, perched on a strange boy's lap. He is blindfolded, and I am holding his face, leaning in. I never thought I'd win. Too worried about the heft of me on those boys' laps to imagine they'd respond to the ripeness of my lips, the stealthy inquiries of my tongue, my breath reduced to tiny sighs. Why did my sorority sisters offer me up? Did my 6-month relationship with a grad student who resembled Warren Beatty credential me as experienced? Or was it, in the wake of our breakup, now 2 months past, the wreckage of clear-cut forest behind my eyes, or the daily widening of my abundant hips that bespoke a hunger so impersonal that any lips would do? Thank you.
So, I will be reading my poem that appeared in the issue titled Self-Portrait at the Worm Grunting Festival. And I guess I'll give a brief moment of context before I jump into this. Worm grunting, in case you aren't familiar, is a traditional method of getting worms to come to the surface of the ground by like rubbing two sticks together. Something about it mimics the vibrations of animals. And up here in North Florida, there is an annual festival around this every year, which I thought was interesting. So this is titled Self-Portrait at the Worm Grunting Festival. I'd like to think I was the one summoning the worms, speaking with their counsel. Those centuries of the soil fighting through centuries of earth, only to be caught for ground bait by sage children rubbing stakes together like guiros or kindling overhead, rasping to the rhythm of the fiddler's fingers flying fast over catgut strings, and the pungent aroma of food trucks glazing the air with braised ribs and boiled peanuts. But I never much liked grubs on the ground, sidewalks after rain, or robins extracting elastic from earth. Yet here I am in tiny Sopchoppy, population 500, sweat-sodden and sopping through tents peddling leather, glass, hand-painted oyster shells, faux gemstones hot glued to driftwood, inching through throngs of city folk, longing for wilderness and worms, the diplomats of dirt. As if only in the muck could we escape, as if only the edicts of mud could free us from our urban shadow, our great excavation coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you everybody who works at South Florida Poetry Journal. What a wonderful thing. Thank you so much. I would like to read, the first one is in this issue. The shadow in my grandson's blue eyes. My grandson is 6 and admires our biceps. Flexing and extending, mine are large and dependable from years of mountain climbs. He is a miniature perfection of a future man. We are on our way to climbing an indoor rock gym. Nana, do you really know how to climb? His skepticism is warranted. He hasn't seen one so old take risk, even on an artificial wall. There are so many things I have seen and done. As we ride, he leans towards my elbow and asks if I am brown. Yes, I say, and he smiles and tests his fist towards my skin. The contrast take our breath. His blue eyes crinkle and a smile, proud that our muscles are large, proud that we can climb, proud that we have each other's hearts. The certain belay of inheritance. We are ready in a gym that smells of sweat and rubber. I help him with his harness. He laughs, a tiny cascade that ripples light as chalk. And we watch each other's climb. He chooses a boulder, I hope more difficult routes for me, but then we lose sight of each other and he panics, runs the length of the gym looking for his Nana. His cold forms a stone in my stomach. I find him in the center of a group that surrounds him, a swarm of bees. They circle keeps me away from him. I am his Nana, I say in my accented tongue. I can't escape. And the white man retorts, you can't possibly be. My grandson looks up to me. Could this also be another truth? And in that moment, I know a wheat seed carelessly planted. Thank you. This one is not in the journal. It's somewhat finished. Triángulo azul, blue triangle. I tell myself I don't care. Que no me importa un comillo. But I see Bad Bunny on TV and La Bandera de Puerto Rico flying behind him, the flag and the dancers in a parranda formation of bongos and maracas, and the sound of a plena during that late night show, and just as unexpected as the dialogue that follows in two languages, my face is wet. ¿Por qué carajo lloro? Why do I cry? I tell myself, no es mi patria. It isn't my country. I wasn't born there. And yet some tender fibers, like the tenders of a mushroom rhizome, spread images through my mind. Growing up wrapping plantains, Juan Bobo and Don Cholito, melao and tamarind limber, along with the suffocating love of a father who kept me on his ground like mangrove roots that kept collecting sediment until it dies from suffocation. I look again at the dancers on the show, wrapped in the confidence of that single star. They dance and carry that blue triangle on shoulders emboldened by its strength. Envy dries my tears, wishing I could do the same. Thank you.
Everyone, I'm Jen. I'm going to read just two poems. They're from an upcoming chapbook about teaching. I've taught high school English for about 30 years in Atlanta, and now I'm in Florida where I'm afraid to teach in a classroom, so I teach online. So here we go. The first one is called Exchange. My friend Stanley, a Kenyan teacher, observes how American houses open to green lawns and the street when he visits Atlanta in late June. The walls in Nyeri and Nairobi, well, in neighborhoods with money, are hot pink bougainvillea hung, copper soil abutted, and one year at our Nairobi hotel, Israeli snipers behind large-eared trees and planters atop the garden's ledge, and one evening just the city park between my students, colleague, myself, and the Dusset D2 hotel bombing, Al-Shabaab shootout, and the text that pinged my phone that same night, Kenyan military choppers still beating overhead, an alert from my school in Atlanta, its signal in an instant bounding, Piedmont, tidewater, ocean, desert, forest, mountains, 8,000 miles of ridges, road, and valley. Code red lockdown on our campus at home. And the second poem is called Getting Rid of the Books. My wife bundles our grown kids' sets in saran wrap, A Wrinkle in Time, Aragon, Anne of Green Gables, to keep each book with its family. She bunches paper in box crevices so odd-sized text won't slide, pulp pages won't fold under hardback weight. I stay in the passenger seat when we reach Goodwill, look ahead at matching suede sofas, two bedside lamps by a dumpster for the unsalvageable. The guy wheels out a blue canvas container after we tell him the boxes in the back, packed tight like a Tetris mosaic, are full of books. Wait, my wife calls, and I see her in the side mirror scramble to help him as he opens each box, lifts above his head and lets the contents tumble and strike at broken angles in a deep bin meant for dirty laundry. When my wife slides into the driver's seat, receipt clutched in hand, she is weeping. I want to write about book banning, books I can no longer teach, books pulled by administration mid-read, but I'm a high school English teacher still, drawing a salary. Coward. I will write a last will and testament for my books, not a designation of who gets what, but how to gently pack them, how to place them atop the stack next to a girl, feet against the heat vent, book propped open, spine resting on her lap. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Judy. It's great to be in this issue. And Jen, that was amazing. First poem I'm going to read is the poem that was in the issue this time. Hibiscus Leaves. There's one detail here that I realize should probably be cleared up. The San Antonio referred to here is a neighborhood in Cali, Colombia. It's not San Antonio, Texas. Hibiscus leaves. There are no blooms on the hibiscus on the patio. It doesn't get enough sun. The shadow of the house blocks it most of the day, but right now it's a mass of bright green leaves that makes me feel hopeful somehow, whatever that means. These days, I'm feeling my age. I look around at my books on their shelves, the paintings and the photographs, even the espresso machine in the kitchen, and worry this is all there is to a life. Cookbooks where the recipes seem too complicated, but the pictures of the dishes are beautiful. Inherited Limoges porcelain, never used. Leather-bound editions, unread. The dog asleep under the table lets out a howl, then another. He's caught up in some ancestral dream, chasing a wild boar in the woods of East Texas or fields of Johnson grass higher than his head. That animal's dream is something else that makes me hopeful. Heraclitus distinguished the world we share when we're awake from the private world of dreams. He said, follow the common. But I'm not so sure. Some mornings I wake up early and look at you, asleep still, maybe on another continent, walking by the Rio Cali, or making breakfast in your apartment, or studying downstairs in that room with the terrazzo floor at the house in Colombia where you grew up. Smells of sancocho cooking upstairs. You tell me that in your dreams sometimes I treat you badly, leave you on your own at a party, or disappear into a crowd on a busy street. I'm sorry. Tomorrow night, I'll try to do better, to behave better. Take you out for coffee at Cafe Macondo in San Antonio, or for a walk up the hillside until a crack of sunlight returns you to our common waking. This also makes me hopeful, though I don't know why. Whatever hope means, it's not just a synonym for some idea made of words. It's a feeling made of light on hibiscus leaves. It disappears and then returns, like a private world shared between us, your hand resting on the tablecloth. I thought I'd read another poem from my book, Man Made of Stories. And the title of the poem is In the Afternoon at Las Dueñas. And Las Dueñas is an old, rundown, I guess, palace, you'd call it, in Sevilla. And Machado grew up there and played in the gardens as a child. The gardens are really quite beautiful. And it starts with some lines from Lorca, and they translate as, but I'm no longer myself, and my house is not my house. Bougainvillea grows purple on the wall, purple sunlight reflected on stucco, on the yellow clay of walkways between the orange trees. In the reflecting pool, I see the same white hair and beard, nose a little sunburned, face unprotected, puzzled. A lost dog, it's looking for its owner, but no one has come to claim it. The sun sinks lower than the rooftops, darkening the leaves of the orange trees. The purple bougainvillea sinks lower on the wall. Perhaps I've also turned purple in the shade of the orange trees, in the light of the bougainvillea. Unseen, this face moves lightly up the staircase, through the tiled hallways. It doesn't glance at the statues. It doesn't notice the paintings. The face does not belong to anyone now. The oranges it tasted were sour. They shined from the tree limbs, sour orange stars, in the daylight of the bougainvillea. The shade of green leaves, darker than black. The white wall of the convent that closed long ago. The patter of the ticket seller in the afternoon heat. Date palms taller than the house and the walls. In the heat of bougainvillea, shedding light like a dying star. In the acidic perfume of white blossoms. In the darkness of leaves and the yellow clay of walkways that twist through the garden. I raced to catch up with you, your pink blouse and scarf the color of roses disappearing between orange trees and the last sunlight of the bougainvillea, between a fountain and a face that used to be mine. Thank you.
Hi. I'm going to read a poem, excuse me, called Nights at the Slippery Noodle. And this is an homage to Etheridge Knight, who was a prominent poet during the Black Arts movement in the 60s and 70s. And the Slippery Noodle is a bar, restaurant now, too, bar restaurant in Indianapolis, Indiana. And that's where Etheridge Knight lived his adult life, and I lived most of my childhood in. So we would read at a poetry. They had a poetry reading there in the middle of the every week, in the middle of the week, and so this is just an homage and memory of Etheridge Knight. We'd sit at a table before we'd read and read, and this was back in the 80s, I believe. Yeah, 1980s. So anyway, Nights at the Slippery Noodle, a memory of Etheridge Knight. Etheridge lit another cigarette, then proceeded to tell us about the cancer growing unabated in his lungs, long imprisoned by habit, bad luck, bitched-faced arcana of growing up fellaheen, black, and gifted. Life's a dirty fig, ripening on the infield, kicked by a child down a dream-diving road. Yet heavier than Dexter Gordon, yanking notes from nowhere like a drunken flower. Check out West African poetics and black preaching, he said. Yep, one-stroke recitations from Benin. Fog-washed rivers, Yazoo, Mississippi, Bayou Pierre, welled in his yellow mad eyes. Korean War shrapnel, like murderous birds, had honed the night cramps of his soul. He bled. In a room where Dillinger and gang once romped, a shadow dancing MC trilled his name, and Etheridge padded to the stage like Orpheus in his cups. His phrases, shouts, sin chansons, blues rained down, aesthetic, reet, emptying, a string of modal chords making peace. Like a Jessup wagon winking at swamp gas, smeared in dried mud and moonlight, he pushed on through night's soft shroud. As a young brother seated alone, back against the wall, cool, high, digging it, bawled, "Oh man, amen." Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful listening to you all, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of you. I'm going to read one poem from the journal and also a different one. The first one is called Suburban Necropastoral. And the term necropastoral comes from Joelle McSweeney, who defines it as a political aesthetic zone in which the fact of mankind's depredations cannot be separated from an experience of nature, which is poisoned, mutated, aberrant, spectacular, full of ill effects and affects. I was drawn to this form, I think, when I wrote it, in part because my granddaughter was part of a 7-year-old lice infestation that took over the school district. And it had me thinking a lot about my relationship to the natural world. So this is suburban necropastoral. Some disastrous accident, we stared into the dark. Not till morning did we see the copper beach down, thick chunks sprawled on the sidewalk like body parts. Nematodes, the weight of rain. It's like that recently. So much falling, so much eating us hollow. Ash borers, lies, lice, moving in, setting up shop, breaking our hearts. Who invented clothes? My granddaughter asked last week. God, I said, just to have a story. After apples, shame, then clothes, and off went Adam and Eve to the mall. Soon cemeteries arrived, those swards colonized by embalmers and mnemonic stones, then walls, then words, another name for walls. Telling snakes where to go, though really since before the fall, there's been no end of flowing. Capillaries everywhere, cadavers contiguous with tree roots. Just last week, a chipmunk strolled the windshield as we hit 50 on Starrow Drive. Now my son-in-law traps and carries them off in cages. Another expulsion. Pesticided lice streak my hand with brown. For them, my head's a marshy place, a home. Things slide one into one another. Is the fish in the kingfisher's gullet fish or bird? What do we call the plastic beads in the kingfisher's belly? And what am I, seeing my face in the dog's sad eyes? Thank you. One thing I noticed is my dog keeps popping up in my poems. She's a very special dog, but this is another poem that was not in the journal that I think suits my mood and probably other people's mood. It's called When My Husband Asks Why I'm Depressed. When my husband asks why I'm depressed, I ponder the sun-spotted lawn, the faithful sleeping dog, the lush red gold of the copper beach. Ruth, you dunce, I tell myself, the weather's beautiful, and most of those you love are still alive. An alphabet of disasters in the news, I tell him. A for arrest, B for balaclava, and so on. The way computers pull you in and hours later, you're even closer to 80 than you'd been. Shoulder pain when changing clothes, the lack of email from friends, cryptocurrency, Slack, inability to find amid the foliage a warbling vireo I know I hear. My poems, their terrible teeth and crumbling brown leaves, obscure silences at open mics. Well, don't go belly up, my husband insists. Imagine silver scales submerged, the lure of quiet. No, I say, but still. C for corrupt, D for deport, and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. My pleasure to be here again. And I'm going to read the one poem that's in the journal. It's called Because You Asked, Answers to Frequently Asked Questions. And it is exactly that, the answers to frequently asked questions, but without the questions. So if you like, you can play a little mental Jeopardy during this and try and guess what the question is to each of the frequently asked answers. Because this is poetry, there's no prize money for getting it right, except for the glory of it. Okay, so because you asked, answers to frequently asked questions. 1. There were 12, each more difficult than the one before, the 12th being the capture of the three-headed hound of Hades. 2. On the first Sunday, after the first full moon, after March 21st. 3. Subtract 32 and multiply that result by 5/9. 4. Augusta, not Portland. 5. If a side of a street has an alternate side of the street parking sign showing multiple days, street cleaning regulations will be in effect on that side of the street only on the last day posted on the sign. 6. No. There are no photographic evidences of the existence of Jesus Christ. 7. Sue Ellen's scheming younger sister, Kristen, as played by actress Mary Crosby. 8. If you cut into it and the juices run clear, then it's fully cooked. If the juices are red or have a pinkish color, it may need to be cooked a little longer. 9. 2 tablespoons fat and 2 of flour for each cup of liquid. 10. Most boys do it every day. 11. It depends on the season. 12. We may never know. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, Lenny, and everyone for organizing this event. And I'm very happy to be back in the journal. I was published back in 2021, so I'm very excited to be back in the journal. So I'm going to be reading 2 poems, one from the magazine, latest issue, and one from another magazine. And I'm a 90s baby, so I grew up on Batman, the animated series. That's one of my favorite shows. And this is a poem about the voice actor of Batman, Kevin Conroy. I was flung back to a scene where I was cross-legged and had eyes of open wonder, engrossed in the television set, seeing how the Dark Knight was going to subdue the villain of the week this time, when I heard that the Batman of all seasons, Kevin Conroy, had died. I still hear the voice, warm like the beams of a fire at Wayne Manor, crackling and flickering with such strength and light and life. I read how you said that being both Batman and Bruce Wayne was natural to you as an actor, as you had been a closeted gay man in a world that feared and hated you. And the lines and self began to blur as you put on painted smiles and a mask. This next poem, it was recently named a finalist for the E.E. Cummings Poetry Prize from the New England Poetry Club. And this is a baseball poem, but it's not about baseball. So this is called I Dreamed the Dodgers Back to Brooklyn. I want the Dodgers back in Brooklyn, real Brooklyn, with pigeon coop rooftops and stickball kids who cuss in 5 languages before lunch. I want Jackie Robinson back, stealing home like it's owed to him, as if America is just a constant curveball, and you've got no choice but to go for it. I want Jackie juking gravity. I want a hot dog in each hand and a halo of ketchup around my mouth. I want Ebbets Field, not a memory, but brick and echoes and peanuts cracked by hand, and bleachers packed like rush hour trains, filled with old ladies heckling like prophets. I want to believe in losing again, the kind a Yankees fan could never understand. The kind where you have scraped the knee and have often been told no over and over again. I want to sit in the bleachers with my grandfather, have him fall in love all over again. Thank you.
It's really great to be here, and thank you, Michael and Judy and everyone. I'm so thrilled to be in the journal. When I got my acceptance, I jumped up. And also Matthew, wow, the Ebbets Field. I grew up in Brooklyn. My dad who passed at 80 over 10 years ago, never stopped talking about Ebbets Field. So thank you for that. And everyone, thank you. I'm gonna read the poem in the journal, which is Last Day is Ophelia. And it came from, I mean, pretty obvious, its origin, but just imagining her character with more agency and more dimension. So I'm gonna read that and one other, if that's okay, not in the journal. So Last Day is Ophelia. I decide to live in the echo of your stamped tin soliloquy you didn't know I listened to, the last of your voice, the softest drops in a high noon thunderstorm. I'm quick to gather the words to my body, pulling them like the fabric ocean of a ball gown to my legs and chest, a garment I've been consigned to wear for at least the last 11 years, so you have to know the crinoline aches with every scrape of the ground. Where we will wash ourselves next is not a visceral concern, more directional than I'd like, but I'm still willing to link arms with you in the rapids. You plunge into the churn without consultation. I know heavy garments in deep water don't mix, so I pluck each footfall on the rocks along the river with exacting care. I see you surface here and there, drawn to daylight's glisten on your skin, your copper hair. When I reach the cerulean pool at the base of the falls, I cannot find you. I pull myself free of this dress and dive into coolness that startles me on a molecular level, and I find I don't need as much air as I thought, scouring the hard bottom for your presence. When I surface, I see your form come over the falls, arms out in an upside-down cross. I ready myself to catch you, at last. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
I just have one more, if that's okay.
Please do, yes.
Oh, thank you. This poem, I've never read this, so bear with me, please. It's called Stroke My Face and Call Me Flower, and it was published in Defunct magazine, I think about a year ago. It took a while for it to come out. They were having some editorial shuffling and issues. I really am sorry to offer this in advance. I really would rather say it afterwards, but it has to do with just the way femininity is constantly constrained and the demands placed on it that it has to adhere to a certain set of principles, which I know masculinity does as well, but it's just addressing that. This is it. I am the Sasquatch that bloomed on the rose bush, heavy-footed and miraculously still perfumed, unburdened by the succulence of petals, coarse with hair and sticky from a fistful of berries. They still stroke my face and call me flower, though I'm a hulking bipedal mythology, unfit for this type of admiration, too burly and square-shouldered for your bouquet, too damp and musky for your potpourri, unsuited for a quaint boutonniere or tidy corsage, and still this vexing insistence that I'm a flower. When I grunt and roar, does that not convince you that I am some vast other, perhaps birthed more than bloomed, spun from a legacy of blood, towers of meat plumped generationally from formidable helices, muscle and sinew that incite strength and speed, and though unknown to you, my stout legs catapult me into a Forest Glen pirouette or a sonnet I crow in my thundering voice, using a language forever inscrutable to your ilk, to you. Allow me my softness as I find it. I amble dimensions you cannot fathom. My vigor is still mostly unmapped. I gargle calculus before breakfast, which is eaten typically raw. My softness does not ask for or want your approval. It is incapable of capitulation. I will not scrape essence from my limbs or body to ferment comfort in you. My call stays ragged and my gait spans continents. I don't expect you to reach out or keep up. I gather my own flowers with no expectation that I am nestled quietly among them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert Manaster. Thank you, Michael and Judy and everyone at South Florida Poetry Journal for first accepting 3 of my poems and also for putting this Zoom together. I appreciate it. I'm going to read 2 short poems. One of them is from in the journal, and both of them are from my manuscript, Desire Field Beginning, which is a phrase from Muriel Rukeyser's The Book of the Dead, a wonderfully documentary poetics. It's wonderful. Okay, so the first poem is called, or it has an epigraph, so it's called Behind Closed Doors at City Hall. The Patient Beating of the Animal Heart. That's from Edna St. Vincent Millay. Onto plush so blue, step as soundless as the diving of a starving loon. Cathedral windows, oak-paneled wall, a framed field where golden centaurs roam. A chandelier glaze, like the heart of a silver elephant. In here, wait to charge, wait to break the city staff's will, like the lurking red-tailed hawk on its branch. In here, the animus of gain or loss is a lion's stare. Okay. And the next poem is again from the manuscript, or from this manuscript I have, and it's called To Dream American. And it's a poem in a form, and you'll recognize it pretty quickly. To dream American. To dream American is to believe in making it work, in pain's staunch common sense, in the great rush to get ahead and leave your overgrown backyard, and not to grieve your lot as gusted tall grass bends root tense. To dream American is to believe you'll rise. Away, you'll grow new plots and cleave to higher ground. You'll seed a difference in the great rush to get ahead and leave a mark, and raise a fist as well. Conceive how deep the holes will be to build a fence. To dream American is to believe in rightness, purpose, no grounds to deceive or be deceived, no path but independence, in the great rush to get ahead and leave a legacy, if only to receive guests and a gift of grace, no extravagance. To dream American is to believe in the great rush to get ahead and leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Judy, for welcoming my work to the journal, and also for the poems you seem to choose. I feel that I really connecting with you. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna read a poem from the journal, which is about remaining a citizen in times of difficulty. And the other one is about my father, who after all was the one who taught me the proper outrage a citizen must give. So this is called Crossing the Border. I saved every passport that I was issued, shown at one border of another, wondering each time if the men who questioned my credentials longed to be guards since they were children. Airports are as harsh as purgatory. Immigrants in charge of sweeping the scorched feathers, and saints remaining silent, confusing complicity with holiness. After my passport is stamped, I walk on home soil, still a foreigner after decades of abiding, hiding my accent under my coat. Thank you. And this is for my father. It's called, this is unpublished, my father's letters. My father wrote his letters by hand, inordinately straight lines on unlined paper, exerting the same weight of wrist for every letter, careful not to bruise his nouns with unnecessary adjectives. Every sentence the length of his breath every breath faithful to the length his lungs could manage and thought required. At time instructions or his idea of a permission. In his unmistakable voice, firm, saying what turned into a form of tender sadness. The paper precisely folded, the envelope carefully addressed, sealed slowly. The vow to elegance my father always intended. The promise he'd make each time inside the envelope. To point rather than pierce. To invite rather than force. To praise without ignoring failure. A letter that started with "Dear son" and ended with "Your father." Thank you.
Great to see you, Michael. Oh man, this is wonderful. So I wanted to say thank y'all. This is having me in the journal. This is too cool. It's so funny. I just moved down here to South Florida after living in Houston for 8 years. So I've been here for 5 weeks now. I got a job at Florida Atlantic University as a research and instructional librarian. So I'm super, super excited about that. So I'm still writing my poetry. I definitely want to stay connected with all you guys. If we can stay connected, so maybe through Instagram, something like that. Oak_Morse. That's how you guys connect with me, or you can drop your Instagram, whatever it may be. All right, this poem is um, called Mama's Dead. Mama's dead, and the pew space beside me pulses for a brother who pawned his halo. Absent our mother's funeral. I know you. You used to know us. And I don't want to hear how you can't hear mama calling you from the upper room. You stretch below a signpost, boils fevering your body, centipedes creeping up your spine. Mama's dead, and the obituary poem I wrote is still the poem I wrote without your memories. Ask how I felt when cousin Big Thunder questioned me, where are you? Amid the darkness, all my teeth held was a mouthful of fog. Don't tell me you're riding in cars with ex-cons, slipping into stores, dancing in aisles, your pockets pregnant. You know mama taught us all about working hard on these white folks' jobs, but mama's dead, and she's probably sent it better than you. Save your justification of your dreads housing dirt from 4 summers ago, a tongue piercing done by a blue bandit teen. You can have it, your soliloquy on making homies with IHOP workers, on smoke breaks, finessing for triple stacks. You suing the Salvation Army. You're trying to donate blood for money. You choking the librarian for protesting the nest you made beneath the last urinal. I owe you a flood of protests, cosmic enough to tie up your tongue, because I don't want to hear about you ripping off churches for toilet tissue, wiping your ass one day with your birth certificate. Hell no, you can't put integrity on layaway. None of those same words, it ain't that big of a deal. Passing out at parks, playing hide and go peep on hungry men, you sopping up comfort in your habitat of hookers, dealers, sprinkling little gods in a spoon. Are you letting them permeate your body with a plague? A disease swallowing you from within? No. At best, you're caught up by a lover, bathing you in cognac, then marring you with a baseball bat. I don't want to hear about what I don't want to hear unless I hear you setting your clock back to before mama's death. Suck back those words you ain't seen earth since your last pipe and soul check. Hard. Us nestled in front of the TV screen, laughing and losing it over Martin and Gina on the screen. I bet it be as peaceful as those pigeons you name or sunflowers you seize, you spit out, surrounding your shape like chalk outline. On the floor, the same one we wheel mama to the hearse on, wheel mama out in the hearse. But look at that half grin on mama. I'm sure it's for when we hammer time in the kitchen with hot cocoa, with cigarette burns in your britches. For all that, I'll take your twitching, counting cracks in the concrete, loitering outside the chapel with my flyer for your whereabouts, nailed from town to town. I'll even take your squint through the stained glass window, wishing mama serenity, dressed in your joint favorite color, plum. So take these petunias, wrath with my lace, with weeping, too, brother, oh brother, I pray there's enough of you left to forgive. This next poem is the one published in the journal. It's called We Glee Now. It is in respect of Juneteenth. Mary Agnes were quaking. Ever since mistaken for 1619, like rotten flaxseed, shoulder-toked log yolks, eyes on our bootlaces, tavern into who we not are. South yard, keeping flies from open flesh with corn husks. Galveston News, Oje Ojo Tutum, Oje Ojo Tutum. That means it's a new day. So we glee now, though our emancipation was procrastinated. Got to skip a loo, Mary Agnes. Can't hay here. There's too many Satans in the barns, ants eating at our baby. Cobblestone road where you were dragged, lost flashback. We go. Hack up them nerves out your throat. Master can't never be enough hero. Unbury your lips. There's a new horizon for us to stitch before conch shells wore daylight. Sure, there's Coyote and Whitecap Clan, but that's endless and everywhere. Oje Ojo Tutum, Oje Ojo Tutum, barrel cry me audacity. We got to spring, even if we can't leap into codes and symbols to read. Get you upstream with Dred Scott fangs. Bye, don't let Lenin caress your conscience. It's too easy to crawl back to plantation coated in mint, molasses, miraginous to tuck our faces, kilo a crypt, owner's initials under right eye. Say you heard the ancestor psalming. There's peaches and persimmons beyond here, and if you need a white man to follow, let it be Lincoln. It'll add less to hollow. Savvy Texans' hearts just not quite ready then, like being slung into the Serengeti. Oje Ojo Tutum, Oje Ojo Tutum. And now we butter up in audacity. Safety is sap when found in uncertainty. Mary Agnes, you have a husband to hawk. Hazy face, thick decades has barred the way. Say your reign. They had our sweat, but they cannot have our sun rays. Let crows barricade the screen door of big house. Stone windows and rudabakers, our black tails got blacksmiths to be. Katherine Johnson's, Wilson Mulroney, Ebony magazine dreams once we unleash, because after strength, we gain heritage. And national holiday Biden beam. And we gonna dazzle and disremember the brine. And I promise you, Mary Agnes, Lord gonna love us fine. Thank y'all so very much.
This is my first time being published in this journal, so thank you very much for that. I'll be reading two poems. The first one was published in the journal, and the other one comes from the same manuscript of a series of poems that deal with like nature, destruction, things like that. Biohazard. After The Gap in the Door, a painting by Caitlin Mobili. Twilight's tints maroon through the bay windows as I bleed crimson onto the celadon floor. No more ammunition left to eradicate the zombification flowing in my veins. As I bleed crimson onto the celadon floor, I think of all the dusks that we will have to miss to eradicate the zombification flowing in my veins. Just close your eyes, count to 10, and let me go. I think of all the dusks that we will have to miss after you leave me to fend off the rabid dogs. Just close your eyes, count to 10, and let me go. I am not the living anymore, just reanimated. After you leave me to fend off the rabid dogs, no more ammunition left. I am not the living anymore, just reanimated as I bleed crimson into the celadon floor. All right, so the second one is called non-biodegradable, and it's a, let's see. The following will outlive me. Straws from fast food restaurants, rains around soda cans, bottles filled with stolen water, containers from pre-peeled oranges and bananas, bags for sunflower vinaigrette salads, cases from Strombolis I will burn and throw away, shells for game controllers I will leave to rot, gloves used to pick up one gross thing, bags for trashed leftovers I forgot to eat, wrap for a half-eaten cake I will not forget to eat, islands of trash floating in the Pacific, frame of the computer I used to write this, set of mops and brooms I used to clean the floor with, wipes and disinfectants when you spilled, bottles of milks and juices when you felt like using cutlery and plates because we were tired of using bottles of dish soap drying out our hands because gloves just for dishes is such a waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all, everyone on the Zoom call. And really tonight, I'm just going to read two poems, hopefully, not too long. But the first one is from the journal. It's called A Desperate Aisle. Steered the cart around the store. Boxes of cereal, gallons of milk. Cart moves forward. Aisle of coffee, sugar. Move the cart to the left. People block aisles, stare. Move the cart to the right. You hear sighs, groans. Whichever way the cart moves, the aisles shrink of food, of scents. You careen around, trying to find enough. But that is the trick. Scarcity breeds more scarcity. Intentionally, the cart in your hands slips away, towards the exit doors, away from empty shelves. The cart is making a run for it. The streets are singing, yelling. You could go chase it, but you stand still, next to the milk aisle. You try to remember what you were doing. Old wants seem to wane. The cart is outside, you're sure of it, moving and racing into the humid night. The cart is careening over cracked concrete. The cart does not wait to cross the street. The cart bangs into the sides of cars. Overhead, the moon is shining, full and bright. Thank you, Mike. And this next one is one I've been tinkering with for a while. I think I just love the title. It's this one is called Morpheus Says It's Okay to Sleep. So this one is starts as follows. I sleep and wake up sometimes and don't know if I'm still me or not, if it's still day or not. Is it nighttime now? I look outside my windowsill and only questions come to mind. When did those new buildings start up? When did the restaurants rise over there? When did the barbershop on the corner close down? When did the laundromat get sold? When I figure it's night, I remember what happened before my long, self-imposed slumber. I was napping after work. The minute the clock turned to closing time, the world of sirens and drought days and bad news would fade away. Fading away to the land of slumber, Morpheus, that old dreamful god, whispering to me the following. Hey, I know you've been busy, racking your brain with all the self-inflicted wreckage of guilt, you junior Ozymandias, you. But it's okay. Lay your head on this pillow and let yourself dream. Let yourself rest. Let yourself sleep. I rest, I sleep, I dream. Here, I am who I am. The world is still, quiet, the noise from the streets gone, replaced by the music of birds singing atop trees, the humming of power lines, electricity reverberating, and the owls hooting underneath a half-full moon. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I prepared to read one poem that I think is kind of a nice complement to my poem from the issue. So my poem in the issue is about my paternal grandfather. And so I'm going to read a poem that centers on my maternal grandmother. And I've had some poems recently that are sort of like this, where family history sort of helps me to situate myself in my own life. So I'm going to read this poem called Conversations with the Dust. Conversations with the Dust. My grandmother wishes her ashes could mix with my grandfather's ashes. 2 bodies, 1 urn. The state of California says no. 2 bodies, 2 urns. Since my grandfather died, my grandma says she's only half a self. Meanwhile, in Maryland, I just got divorced. My dust would never mix with my ex-wife's dust. Our ashes would never whisper to one another. Now I keep my ashes to myself. And I envy my grandmother, who just lost her husband and moved into assisted living. The man with whom she breakfasted every morning. Aromas of toast and coffee. The kitchen radio playing NPR. Linda Ronstadt, Steely Dan. 70 years of talking over breakfast. Back and forth like the world's longest tennis volley. Eyes to eyes across life's net, across death's net. Dust particles swirl in the air. She is ready to join him. She tells me the story of her parents. Her mom died young. Her widower father married a widow, evil stepmother. The couple's ashes never could converse. When they died, their dust parted ways. Father was buried in Wisconsin in his first wife's plot. Stepmother was interred in Minnesota beside her first husband. So very cold. The dust resumes its old conversations. I have no idea where I'll be buried or by whom. All I have is stories. Stories of conversing, not conversing. Stories of understanding, not understanding. Stories of people dying at the wrong time, like they always do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an incredible reading. I'm going to read the 2 poems from the journal and a third, but I promise it'll only take me 3.5 minutes. So this is Love in 2025. My beautiful friend materializes in my doorway, her black and red floral headscarf matching the bra peeking beneath her blouse. We wrap around each other, rocking back and forth a few moments in the center of the sunlit room. She wasn't supposed to be here. She was booking a flight to Tehran when the missiles launched. Her family is okay. She couldn't reach them for a while. She asks me about the shootings, one a week ago in my last city at No Kings, another 2 days ago outside the bar I laughed my early 20s away inside. We've both been told we're safer where we are, lucky to be elsewhere. We both know they're right. We both know we won't listen. Paper cities. In the field behind my building, 14 cranes blink tirelessly through the night, a new tower rising into tomorrow. Most of the ground is hollow, warrens of parking garages, train tunnels, and underground shopping malls trace their knotted way below the surface. Sometimes when my boot strikes, a cobblestone loosens, and the dull thud echoes back through the thin earth. Oh, hollowed ground, oh, scraped sky, I would love to see what you'll become, but not enough to stay. And this is astronomy. Moonrise over ocean horizon, my father teaches me to shoot photos through a telescope. Craters and ridges rise like pockmarked skin beneath a fluorescent light. This was now. I loved the night lilies, the tigers too, that grew in my father's garden, the way something was always awake, waiting. I gathered worms and black swimming beetles from the backyard pool into jars of water. Look at them dance, I told him. They're carnivores, he informed me. What did I know about cruelty then? How accidental it could be. My father gives me a thimble-sized light on a keychain that flashes Morse code for SOS if you turn the head counterclockwise. For emergencies, he says. It was his. One night I try it in a dark parking garage, let the strobe guide me to my rental car. Spinning the lens, the head detaches, and out pops a small, pale pill, a tiny moon landing in my hand. The big and little dippers. Those are us, I told him. Ursa Major and Minor, he taught me. Soon after that first night at my father's house, a telescope appeared near the lilies. That one's not a star, he told me. That's Venus. The orange hue coming into focus in the viewfinder. My favorite star, really our nearest planet, 24 million miles away. We learned to love each other through space. Decks of constellations left on my nightstand, the stars he hoped I would arrange into Orion's belt scattered haphazardly across my ceiling. The telescope, I'll tell him, it's okay to sell. What wouldn't I give to close that distance now? Thank you.
You, Michael. I unfortunately have had a little technical issue. I had video earlier in the reading, but I've lost it, so apologies for that. Nothing I can really do about it at the moment. Thank you for having me. It's amazing to read with you again. This first poem, I'm going to read two poems. The first one is the one that I have in the journal. It's called On the Third Anniversary of His Death. This is for my dad. I remember to take a detour through a wood with three kinds of pine. Secretly hope to see a bear there. A naturalist said to smell ponderosa, inhale scent of butterscotch. Instead, eyes overflow, and I forget all about my nose, except to say, I remember its function, breathing thin mountain air between photographs of innumerable wildflowers. Later I may research their names. Hardly a thought to lose breath on the climb to the second falls, and I return to my poem about that final night. And the line, here's what I don't understand. Horses are euthanized for a fractured ankle, and humans linger until asphyxiation. I wish I could say I'm wiser than the poem was, or I saw a black bear, missed him, tugged away by the weight of the air. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I want to read one other poem. This poem was published earlier this year in New Journal Cataloging Poetry Magazine. It primarily revolves around the second No Kings protest, but it also incorporates some experiences that I have teaching high school. I'm still actually in my classroom right now, and also my part-time job at a bookstore. My wife says I'm exuding. My wife says I'm exuding substitute teacher on summer break vibes. Something about sweatpants, a band tee, and hat head, which makes me feel deeply unsettled. 2 days before summer, I overheard a student ask her boyfriend what happens to her if her parents are picked up by ICE. In a moment that was light-hearted and dark in its echo, he said he would raise her. When I go to the bookstore on the morning of No Kings, we hold a staff meeting about our level of comfort hiding people on the run in the back behind the curtain. My boss says immigration must remain in the public areas of the store, but I strongly suspect fascists do not stop at employees-only signs. Later, as we walk to the protest, my gaze to the ground, I'm struck. Sorry, one second. I'm struck. My gaze to the ground. I'm struck by realization. The cement under us attempts a kind of permanence like America. Each pair of etched initials declare a bonded love, and I wonder, how old is this path? How late is it really? And how cement is reminiscent of an elephant's skin, brings the colloquialism of standing too close. But before I can decide whether the analogy has a place in the story of our moment, or if we're stuck at the center of an entire herd, we hear the roar outside the library, the steps leading up to the old city hall, homemade neon signs that shout the world is full of poets. Finally, I breathe in joyful determination, the chorale of chanting and car horns. We squeeze each other's hands, exude a renewed belief. We are not even close to alone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. You made a great issue and you made a great night. And I'm really grateful. With that said, good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good. Great to see everyone.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Night. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a great reading.